Let's go back then to the 1st of December 2020. It's the Tuesday after the Bahrain Grand Prix, and the news has just broke that #Blessed has contracted COVID-19. In other news, the seat with the best team and the fastest car in F1 history has just been freed up for Sakhir. And to add the icing on the cake, your teammate will only be this guy. Naturally, the rumours would be rife over who would replace the 7-time world champion for the weekend, and as we all know, that went to our boy George Russell here, in a move which got all Twitter stans and fangirls a touch too excited for their own good. Nevertheless, everyone was eagerly anticipating Russell's first go in an F1 car that could actually challenge for points, but it was clear that the team's expectations were low and the pressure was off. Though, let's be honest here, this was basically the biggest opportunity of Georgie Boy's career, a weekend that could write the rest of his Formula 1 journey. So, although according to the team the pressure was off, it really wasn't. And in the end, George would deliver, missing out on pole by just 0.02 of a second, and then going on to lead for the majority of the race. Before, of course, everything went to shit. And that obviously begs the question, what next for Mr. George Russell? A future Mercedes driver, or another Esteban Ocon?
Bruh.
Hey there guys, and welcome to FP1, and today I want to chat about this guy. George Russell will be entering his 3rd season of Formula 1 with Williams in 2021, but the really big question is, what's next for Mr. Saturday? Before we get into things, if you do enjoy what you see here, make sure you do smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more edgy F1 content. Support has been absolutely amazing recently, and I'm so grateful for all of the support, so thank you. But anyway, let's get into this. Does George Russell deserve another shot with Mercedes? Right, let's start with a bit of background. In his junior career, George has already shown that he's an outright talent, never finishing a single-seater season lower than 4th in the standings before his step up into Formula 1. George would win the BRDC F4 Championship with Wehrlein Racing in 2014, while also winning the 2017 GP3 Series and 2018 F2 Championship with ART. That 2018 championship was also filled with a vast amount of top-tier talent, with Russell triumphing over early favourite and current McLaren driver Lando Norris, as well as Alex Albon, Nick De Vries, and Chicken Man Sean Gelael. This would of course warrant a step up into Formula 1 with the Williams team for 2019. George would also be joined by Robert Kubica, returning to the sport after 8 years on the sidelines. At the time, this looked like a very exciting lineup for the season. Kubica was tipped as a future world champion before his career was put on hold after a rally accident in 2011, so it would be great to compare Russell to, right? Well, not quite. Robert was sadly only a shadow of his former self upon his return, and although Kubica beat George in the standings after picking up P10 in the crazy race at Hockenheim, Russell would wipe the floor with him over the course of the season, out-qualifying the pole at every round and out-racing him 16 times out of the 18 races in which they could be compared. Add this to the 2019 Williams being, well, rubbish, it made it very difficult to see how good George actually was. 2020 would be a lot better though, as Williams picked up the pace, they were only a few tenths off the next lowest car, over than a few seconds. This allowed George to really shine in qualifying, making Q2 9 times out of his 16 races for Williams, but it also appeared to show some of his weaknesses as well. Now before Twitter lose their shit at me, just give me a chance to explain. As we know, Russell's 2020 teammate would be the 2019 F2 runner-up Nicholas Latifi, a driver who isn't bad, but by no means is the next Ayrton Senna either. Similarly to Kubica, Latifi would struggle in qualifying, never succeeding to out-qualify the Brit all year. And although the race stats also swing in the favour of George, that doesn't always tell the whole story. Russell would sometimes struggle to maintain his qualifying pace in the races, dropping back while Latifi showed more impressive race pace at times. And, excluding the race in Sakhir, for obvious reasons, Latifi would have actually finished ahead of George in the standings due to his 2 11th place finishes in the Austrian and Italian Grand Prix. George's starts have also shown to be a point of weakness this year, struggling to get off the line and losing a lot of the work he'd done over Saturday. And let's also talk about Imola. Actually, yeah, maybe not. Now, yeah, after all this, we do still need to remember that this is a Williams, but it's still food for thought. The other point of consideration here is George's place in the Mercedes Young Driver Academy. On the face of it, being in the academy looks like a great idea, but taking a slightly closer look over how Mercedes have treated its juniors once in F1 paints a slightly different picture. Before Russell, Mercedes' future seemed to be in the hands of first Pascal Wehrlein and then Esteban Ocon. Wehrlein entered the sport in 2016 driving for Manor Racing, and actually had a really impressive year. I mean, the guy got points in a Manor. More than what George could do in a Williams, just saying. Meanwhile, Esteban would join Manor midway through 2016, before stepping up to Force India for the next 2 seasons, where he was on par with Sergio Perez and helped take the team to 4th in the standings for the 2017 season. And although Ocon's form seems to have dropped off after his year out, There was a point where both of these guys were favourites for a seat at Mercedes, yet neither of these have ever come to fruition. After Wehrlein's stellar rookie season in 2016, Nico Rosberg announced that his career was over, opening up a seat at the World Champions for 2017. And though the young German was one of the favourites for that seat, Mercedes decided to sack off its junior talent for Porridge Man here, a move which so far has gone really well. Mercedes would then pour salt in the wounds by giving the Force India seat to Ocon, whilst Pascal was forced to move to Sauber, racing in year-old Ferrari engines all season. Similarly, after Bottas's piss-poor season in 2018, where he couldn't even win a race in the Mercedes, Esteban Ocon looked favourite to snipe the seat at the top team in 2020. As we know, this again didn't happen, as Ocon was sent packing to Renault, where he got ripped a new arsehole by Daniel Ricciardo. So to summarise, no Mercedes Jr. has managed as of yet to make it to the top team. Mercedes picking Bottas over George right at the start of the 2020 season also didn't make things look any better for the young Brit. But then of course, Sakhir happened. Russell would finally get the opportunity to race in the fast Formula 1 car, and boy did he make good use of that time. George would start by beating Bottas in the first 2 free practice sessions, the point in the weekend where, might I add, that Bottas is usually stronger over Hamilton. And though in FP3 he seemed to slip backwards a bit, he was back up to Valtteri's pace by the end of qualifying, just missing out on pole. But for me, it was the race where Russell shined, starting well and jumping Bottas into turn 1. And when Mercedes cocked up with the tyres, George fought through the field back to second, showing that he can actually overtake people, which of course is near impossible in a Williams. The most important of these overtakes was of course on his teammate, as George showed incredible bravery and skill, getting past the Finn in the more technical section of the circuit. And for me, despite the fact that Bottas was on older tyres, it still shows the changing the guard at Mercedes. 2020 has undoubtedly shown the flaws in Valtteri Bottas, and with Lewis Hamilton also nearing the end of his career, Merc need to stop thinking about the present and start focusing on the future instead. Red Bull already have Max Verstappen on a long-term contract, while Ferrari, when they finally get their act together, also have Charles Leclerc locked down for the future. But Mercedes don't have that luxury yet. Love him or hate him, it's no lie that the team currently have one of the best drivers in the sport's history under their wing, but that time is quickly running out. If they want to future-proof that team, they need a young driver in there soon, and who better to learn under than Lewis Hamilton? Though Lewis is, at time of recording, expected to re-sign with Mercedes, we currently don't know how long for, and many suspect this to be #Blessed's last stint in F1 before moving on to pastures new. In other words, Merc are running out of time to place George in that team and have him gain all the benefits of learning under Hamilton as teammates. The situation between Lewis and Nico Rosberg has undoubtedly made them cautious to move away from a harmonious teammate relationship, but if they don't twist now, it could have more serious repercussions later on down the line. So, do I think George Russell deserves a chance at Mercedes? Well, yeah. Twitter stands, you can stop your hate comments now. But I think the bigger question is, will he actually get that chance? And though I feel like he is most likely out of him and his predecessors to finally drive for the Silver Arrows, history would show us that Mercedes are always keen to keep the boat as steady as possible. And to be honest, without Sakhir, I don't know if George would ever get the shot with the top team. But his performance there has certainly changed things. So I'm going to say it, George Russell and the Mercedes for 2022. Happy now? Of course, this is just the start of the discussion, so do let me know your thoughts on Russell down in the comments below, and I will try and respond to as many of them as I can. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe for more of this content all throughout 2021. But that's all from me. I hope you have a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you all in the next one.